This is the Violent Professional Podcast brought to you by AriesClothing.com.
So, what are we talking about today? What you been up to, man? Feels like we have you on every episode.
It's because I'm down.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means.
Down to pound.
Nobody knows what it means.
It's already off to a bad start already.
It is. It's like torture.
Oh, motherfucking torture. We gotta have, can't do it, but put Wu-Tang. Stick a, what does he say? Like, stick a coat hanger on a stove for like half an hour, stick it in your ass all slow. It's so your asshole can keep feeding you. So what we hinted at was torture. Motherfucking torture. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Damn right.
Trying to do something different with this episode, or trying to do something different with this podcast in general. Talk about cool shit. Started off a little bit serious in the first few episodes. Mark, the most serious of all episodes. Because you're the only guest I can have that won't lose their job. But it is cool to see like where the podcast is going. Like, I think just in general, it's taken on a turn what I thought, different from what I thought it was going to be. I thought I was just going to be having these talks. They were never serious. Like, any of them were never serious, but just like anything, people wanted the episodes to be a certain thing. And I kept pushing back. I'm like, this is my fucking podcast. I'll do what I want. I'll talk about mole people. I'll talk about other fucking alien fish.
Cults.
Yeah. Starting cults.
Animal trades.
Yeah. The animal episodes, which is most of them, there's no animals. Actually, there are animals on this one. I'm specifically talking I'm specifically talking about animals on mine.
Nice.
So, yeah, it's different than I thought the podcast was going to be, but people like the way it is now, so I'm just going to keep the trend.
I like it.
Yeah. As I said before, we're going to be talking about torture, but it's going to be specifically medieval torture devices.
Yep.
So from various times. And so what we're going to do is basically each person has a go at what they want to talk about. They say what the name of the device is that was used, what it looks like, how they used it.
Describe it as best we can.
Yeah, we'll just talk about it. And then at the end, we'll maybe make our own torture devices.
Yes.
So I figured that'd be an interesting thing. I didn't tell you about that. Yeah.
That's a good idea.
So, yeah. Past, present, future, I guess. Like what, current.
I wonder what kind of shit they use now, that like if they still use this kind of stuff.
You hear about it on the, Heretic's Fork. They still use it.
Fuck,
I can't go to sleep.
Well, I mean, like one of mine we'll talk about later that says there's unconfirmed things that they're still using it.
Yeah, dude. It's like in the Middle East or something.
No, it's Latin America, actually. But
it's fucking sick fucks.
Yeah.
So I'll start off with a little definition of what torture is for everybody that doesn't understand what it is. I think we get it. I'm not talking about when your ex-wife tortures you with holding things over your head and whatnot. That is a kind of torture. And with child support or the fact whatever. Definition. Torture. From Latin tortoise. Tortoise?
Tortoise? Like the sandwich?
Mountain tortoise.
Oh, mountain tortoise.
From mountain tortoise. To twist or torment is the act of deliberately inflicting severe physical or psychological suffering on someone by another as a punishment or in order to fulfill some desire the torturer or force some action from the victim. Torture by definition is a knowing and intentional act. Deeds which unknowingly or negligently inflict suffering or pain without a specific intent to do so are not typically considered torture.
Interesting.
So if you're just you're going to wing it.
I wonder what's going to happen if I poke him with this
hot iron in your ball sack. Oh, you did exactly what I thought he'd do. That's not torture. Yeah, that's a unique interaction.
I didn't know what would happen.
I didn't know if I stepped on his fucking pinky. That's dumb. I shouldn't talk. So I think this is from a Wikipedia page. I just typed in torture on Google, so I'm not sourcing this because I don't know where the fuck it's from. Yeah. Wikipedia. It's probably this sounds like something from WikiLeaks, maybe. I don't know. So torture has been carried out or sanctioned by individuals, groups, and states throughout history from ancient times to modern day. and forms of torture can vary greatly in duration, from only a few minutes to several days or longer. Reasons for torture can include punishment, revenge, extortion, persuading you. I'll persuade you to do this for me.
Yeah.
Political re-education. Deterrence, coercion of the victim or a third party. Interrogation to extract information or a confession, irrespective of whatever it is false. Whether it is false. Or simply a sadistic gratification of those carrying out or observing the torture. Alternatively, some forms of torture are designed to inflict psychological pain or leave as little physical injury or evidence as possible while achieving the same psychological devastation. Torture may or may not kill or injure the victim. How is he not going to injure the fucking victim? Isn't that part of it?
I mean, it depends. I mean, you got modern day like waterboarding.
Yeah, true.
You know?
I mean, you can injure him. Oh, yeah, so I get it. Or leave evidence as possible while achieving the same psychological devastation. I already read that. The torturer may or may not kill or injure the victim, but torture may result in a deliberate death and serves as a form of capital punishment. Depending on the aim, even a form of torture that is intentionally fatal may be prolonged, as you'll hear in some of these, to allow the victim to suffer as long as possible, such as half hanging. In other I'm just kind of gonna hang you just to where your toes are. In other cases, the torturer may be indifferent to the condition of the victim, so it doesn't give a fuck. I mean, why would you? Yeah, you're gonna be indifferent.
Yeah,
I heard like a while ago when I was looking at something online that like some of the executioners and stuff from medieval times, they get sick because they were like human beings. So they're like human beings. So something to note, some notes that I wrote down, something to note on the notes that I wrote down is torture was a part of everyday life back then. It was just like everywhere, and it was commonplace within society as you go to court, go to the people's court, and they just go, "Oh, you owe Shaniqua $5." And
well, they don't have $5. Yeah. Well, you got to get tortured then.
That's kind of how it goes. And it was acceptable under the rule of the land, and whatever it is. And
if the torturer messed up, people would be angry, or if they did it wrong, or if they did it not all the way through. It's crazy.
Yep. Because after all, they're all watching the torture. If it's a public display, if it's not just like they're trying to gain information, they're people after all. So watching it is excruciating. Mm-hmm. Another thing to note is that torture was different depending on your gender and your social status.
Yep.
With that, let's get into some really happy times. This is where I cue the music, horror music.
This is the Violent Professional Podcast, Torture Edition Tale Stories.
Oh yeah, that sounds good.
So, Mark, you can go first.
Man. Okay, I'm going to start. I'm just going to go down the line here. I got 3. But the first one I'm going to talk about, we can go back and forth if you want.
Yeah, we'll just go back and forth.
First one, Judas Cradle. So the Judas Cradle.
It's kind of like Judas Priest, the band, except it goes in your butthole.
Pretty much. So
they might have gone in your butthole.
Judas
too.
Cradle, it consisted of a pyramid-shaped wooden device, and the victim basically was placed on top. It's like a pyramid shape, right?
How are they placed?
Tip placed on the top. They're placed in this harness. They got this metal harness that goes around their waist. Their hands and legs would be tied so that the weight couldn't shift, and sometimes they'd tie weights to their feet to kind of pull them down over the top of this pyramid-shaped point, right? So the edges of the pyramid would slowly insert into the anus or the vagina of the victim, and the torture could continue from a few hours to entire days. Sometimes oil was put on the device to help it
on
insert.
The people or the device
on the device. So I mean, it ended up on the people or in the people. Wonder what kind of oil they used. It doesn't specify. They had KY back in 379 AD.
Yeah.
Under Constantine, basically was saying any heretics or any pagan worship was not allowed. So they brought out this fucking torture device to insert into
It just
people's
looks like
anuses.
a sawhorse. Like,
oh, it's
a short
terrible.
saw, yeah.
So this one's not the
Point
sawhorse
on it.
one. That's different. So this
you know
one,
it has 4 legs, right? The
Yeah.
pyramid, yeah.
so yeah, okay. So it's just this diamond point. Looks like a pyramid on top of a
it's
stool.
fucked up.
So basically,
And just imagine you're getting ready to get on this thing, like, go!
so the torturers were given a specific amount of money as their fee, and their main task was to extract required information from victims. So they'd torture them either until they died, or they'd torture them until they got the information and then kill them by just leaving them on this Judas cradle. Let's see. Started in Spain, like I said, or began to be used during the 16th century in Spain. It started in Roman times, Theodosius. Medieval times when it was used the most. Another device very similar to the Judas cradle was also in Prussia, but used, let's see, used to discipline. This is what you were talking about, like the horse, the sawhorse looking thing.
Yeah.
It's a very similar device, but that was used to punish soldiers in Prussia, like back in the day.
Okay.
So the most common way to increase the pain was to simply add weight to the legs of the victims.
I think at some point it wouldn't matter.
Oh, it wouldn't. No,
it doesn't matter at some point.
Yeah. Or until
You're getting
something
a big
fails,
fat,
you know?
Yeah, you're getting a big fat thing in your anus. It doesn't matter after a certain point.
Just ugh. And they wouldn't put any. They didn't say anything about putting anything underneath it. It would just be like on a stone floor, so everything just falls out.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I hope you guys are having a good time listening to this. It's gonna get a lot worse. There's one that I'm not gonna talk about, but it was like the most cringeworthy one that I watched on YouTube yesterday. It was like, I was like, oh, because they were like, this one can't be bad. Like, and I was like, holy fuck! It's like, it's not like you won't die from it, but I'll talk about it later.
Oh man,
if I remember it. Cool. Where was that? Where are you citing that from?
Oh, that was a couple of different
places.
Places.
Okay.
Let's see. It was just a medievaltorturedevices.com.
Yeah, cool. So we're going to be putting out the website, so we're not like, so you know, we're just reading these off the website, but you can go check out this shit. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Also
Cradle of Judah.
Wikipedia.
Yeah. Oh, this one's cool. Torturemuseum.net is where I'm going to be.
I also use that one for a couple of mine.
Yeah. I'm going to talk about the Heretic's Fork, and it's horrible. So it's basically what it looks like is a two-sided fork, dual-sided fork, kind of like a spork, or like, you know, like a fork on each end, but the middle prongs are removed. If it's 3, I'm just getting, 2 over top with it. It's just 2 fucking pokers on the end of this thing, and what it does is it's got a collar that goes around the center and goes around your neck, the back of your neck, and the Heretic's Fork goes underneath your chin. The 2 prongs go underneath your chin, like in the soft meaty part that goes up into your mouth if you got stabbed through it. And then the other side goes onto the top of your fucking collarbone in the center. So aside from that, that sounds bad enough as it is, but much worse because they'd suspend you in the fucking air and you were not allowed to go to sleep, because if you fucking fell asleep, you fucking stabbed through the bottom of your bottom of your jaw or into your.
I just feel like that's just painful, and then when your neck gives out.
Yeah, so your neck's like super stiff, and because the people would like try to keep it up.
Yeah.
And they'd be in this position, like just like try, if you're listening to this, try and keep your neck straight and like keep your head up for an extended period of time.
Without putting it down.
I know you're not going to. Yeah, I know you're not going to do it, but just
take a pencil and just put it in that area and just
take 2 forks and tape them together and then wrap it around your neck so it's impossible to get rid of.
Use a dog collar.
Yeah. And then stab yourself in the face, and then you'll get the idea. No, but it's like they'd get, people would get, just tired. Their neck would get tired. Their muscles would give out, and they'd just stab through the fucking bottom of their jaw and into their, and then the top, like it would hit the top of their, their mouth, and then it would push into their throat. Like, so it was, 2 punishments in one, essentially. Actually, It's 1 punishment in 1. That's stupid. It's just stabbing you in 2 different ways. It's fucking horrible. So I'll read this. This is off of torturemuseum.net. The invention of the Inquisition was made to deliver the merited torture to witches and heretics. That's where it got its name from.
They tortured a shit ton of witches, man.
Yeah.
It's like
Those are just
half the stuff in here.
Yeah. These days, it's just an annoying chick. Like, it's running her mouth. She's casting spells.
Torture her.
She cast a spell on me. The tool of the punishment here is two-way plug with a collar on each end of a fork's point. On the fork, the following phrase was visibly engraved, and I forgot about this part. Basically, what it says is, I recant.
Oh, man.
So they're fucking, it's cool. The design of such forks is simple. Why is it spelled like that? You should check your page. Your fucking thing's all fucked up. It's simple, not very pretentious. The bound person, however, will be made to suffer continuous pain, unable to move their head and lower their jaw. 4 sharp spines pierce the neck, 2 near the chin, 2 near the sternum. Attempts at speaking result in abrupt pain, because you can imagine that those spikes are just piercing in every time you move your head.
Oh, man.
So your jaw is closed, can't move your head back. You know, I'm sure if you tried, they'd fucking beat you or something like that. Yeah, because it's like wrapped around your neck right there. You can't do anything.
I mean, you can't even if you picked your head up, it would like inch closer, inch deeper, you know? Deeper into what is that, the neck crevice? This area?
The neckline, you will. Yeah. Attempts at speaking result in abrupt pain. Even persistent heretics of the church would confess if they were made to stay in the contraption for a long period of time.
Damn.
Often such torture was dramatized as a prelude to auto de phase, prolonged inquisition, verdict sessions, and after which the heretics were burned at the stake in public view.
Oh, nice.
Fucking torture, motherfucking torture. So yeah, don't get the heretics fork. You're not going to want that these days.
Fork you, man.
Heretics fork, burning fucking witches. I know. Yeah, so when I was send you the picture of the heretics fork, did you see there's like that ad for Walmart?
Yeah,
you know, like
dude.
A sponsored ad for Walmart on it. I was like, dude, can I pick one of these up? Like, that'd be fucking dope.
You could probably buy one on Amazon, I'm sure.
Or I could just
heretics fork.
I could just take 2 forks and fucking tape them together and tie them to somebody's fucking neck that deserves it. Somebody that's talking shit on Instagram. Somebody that's our follower was having a conversation with this person, and they were talking shit about Aries.
Oh, damn. It's funny.
They were talking shit, and the dude's like, check this out. You got I was like, oh, that
puts
person?
them on blast.
Yeah, I was like, they're still pissed off over that little thing that happened 2 years ago. So basically,
Nice.
I got some art made up.
Yep.
And I thought it was a draft, like a rough draft.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that looks super dope. Can you change this? Blah, blah. And they're like, oh, yeah, sure. 3 weeks go by or whatever. And we just don't get anything.
Yeah.
And finally, I'm like, hey, I'm just seeing the status, like, no rush, like, just seeing if they're working. And they sent me basically the same thing. And I was like, cool, how long till you finish? And they fucking freaked out. And I was like, look, like, she's like, this is, I said she, it was like,
how dare you assume?
Shim was basically like saying like, this is what I did. And if you look at like the other artwork they did, they were like this is not anything compared to what you normally do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that I just said it in a nice way. Like, I was just like, hey, approving a rough draft is not the same as like, yeah, this thing looks awesome.
Like you half-assed it just to get it out the door.
People give you like, hey, do you like this? And you're like, yes or no. And you tell them like changes or whatever.
Yep.
And then you fucking go from there, and then they go, hey, this is what it's going to look like. And you say, like, hey, can you color it this way or whatever? Like, whatever the final thing is, you just work through it, not what happened. And then when they sent me the thing, they were super pissed off because I was like, hey, you didn't put the same level of work in on this as one of our competitors.
Yeah.
Like, that you worked with. And the person freaked out and, like, said, fuck you, blah, blah. And they, that was over 2 years ago.
Yeah. And they're still upset
and
about it?
they're still upset.
And holding grudges.
Get
that bitch a heretics fork.
Yeah, she needs a heretics fork. Fuck this.
You know what
I'll give her the rat's torture.
You know what she really needs is a scold's bridle.
Oh, let's.
All right.
Yeah, she should shut the fuck up. That's what she needs. I know what this is already. I wanted to pick this one because I could go off on this.
I figured you would.
Yeah. All these people are like, why don't you have more females on the podcast? I'm like, I have 0 females on the podcast because they'll all wear the scold's bridle.
Scold's bridle is sometimes called a witch's bridle, a Brank's bridle, or simply Branks. It's an instrument of punishment, a form of torture, public humiliation by all means. The device was an iron muzzle in an iron framework that enclosed the head. Although some bridles were masked, depicted as like suffering faces. The bridle bit had a curb plate on it. It was slid into the mouth and either pressed down on top of the tongue as a compressor to stop him from talking or from talking. I can't even fucking talk. Or used to raise the tongue to lay flat on the wearer's palate. So
the torturer's like, you know what? You need to shut the fuck up.
I'm gonna put this.
Shut the fuck
so
up.
So it started in Scotland in 1567.
That's pretty recent.
Widely used in England. 99% of the time, it was used on females, on women who were considered rude or nags.
Yep. Hear that? Everybody talking
Don't be rude. Don't be a nag. It was designed as a mere punishment.
Nag. Fucking nag. You're nagging me. Put this
designed
on your face.
as a mere punishment for shrews or scolds. Scolds are women of lower classes whose speech was deemed righteous or troublesome.
Yeah.
How dare you speak up, woman?
Yeah.
You're accused of witchcraft. We're putting this thing on your face. Kept him from speaking.
You didn't put You see the neighbors? They didn't put Gertrude in a skull's bride. Shut up, bitch. This episode's gonna get this fucking whole podcast taken off of the fucking network.
We're gonna get protested.
Yeah. We'll get them. Well, that's why I picked up a few Scold's bridles before this episode aired, just for
just for shits.
They're quick application Scold's bridles.
Just put it on.
Just fucking throw it at them.
You just put it on.
It goes over their faces.
Put it on while they're sleeping.
I think yeah. Just don't wait. You're like, I know she's going to talk shit tomorrow.
Just put it on her now. It was also
like
used
condom.
as it
prevents
also
pregnancy,
Oh,
but
God.
for your face, prevents you fucking shutting the fuck up.
So modern day Scold's bridles are used in like sexual manners. Like people
They use it today?
People wear it for fetish reasons. It's kind of weird.
What?
Yeah, it's kind of like wearing a gag, right?
It's like a ball gag.
Yeah,
yeah. So it's not like
very similar.
I mean, it's torture, masochism, whatever.
Yes,
but they like that shit.
Yeah, it's super
it's
weird.
Fucking weird. I went on a trip. This has nothing to do with it, but it has everything to do with leather masks and ball gags. So I went on a training trip one time when I wasn't in the military. It was after I was doing other shit. I went on a trip to support something or whatever I want to talk about. But one of the guys that was like there first, he put a bunch of like fucking nudie mags in people's rooms. So when we showed up, there's like all this like alcohol that he thought we'd like. It was like weird shit. Like I got this donkey beer or something like that.
But donkey porn?
Donkey porn, yeah. I'm sure there was something. I didn't look at it, but it was all black chicks for my magazine, and like I don't know, and then there was
black.
Yeah, they were black. I'm leaving that in. I don't give a fuck. There's nothing wrong with saying that. I'm not saying anything bad. I'm just saying they were black. If Ron Burgundy can say it, not a real person, but fantastic hair. Anyway, one of the dudes got all this bondage fucking like stuff, and it was weird shit. Like it wasn't just like people wrapped up. It was like they were in full leather outfits, like with fake female.
Weird.
There are obviously dudes under there, like they could. I mean, nowadays it could be
weird.
whatever you assume, whatever. But there were ones where they had like costumes and costumes, so like rubber suits inside of rubber fucking outfits that were like multiple layers, like a Russian nesting doll of fucking weirdness, and just people coming out of other people.
So this Scold's bridle was also used as corporal punishment for other offenses. Notably on female workhouse inmates. Oh, coincidence. Because that's how you get the Scold's bridle. You keep your mouth open, you get the Scold's bridle, and it keeps your mouth shut. Here's a Scold's bridle replica on Amazon for $1,300.
Fuck yes.
$30 shipping. It is.
So it's not it's a replica because they replicated it, but it actually works. Scold's
It
bridle.
does.
This episode of the Violent Professional Podcast is brought to you by Torture.
This one has a bell on top, so you can
So when you're making
stop moving.
So when you're mouth fucking them in the skull bridle, you're ding 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 ding. Oh, I love it. Love it. Scold's bridle. It's a good one. What else, man? What else about this torture device? So basically, it just it was like the burning a witch at the stake, but they just shit talk her and they want to keep them around, but not just punish them
So
for a bit.
it stops them from spewing witchcraft and hate
or fucking nagging.
nagging. 4.
Cool.
That was the third one. We're on number 4. We can't count, guys. Sorry.
It's hard, man. It's getting goofy. Had a bunch of Strike Force energy. Use code TASTEV at checkout. I'm going to look at the one I sent you real quick. What's the one I sent you? Because 2 of them I can just talk about. I don't need to read about it. That thing you sent me earlier. This is so dumb.
Yeah.
You realize they hate you, right? Like that's the wrong side to fight for. And they always do.
Crazy.
They always
Crazy.
fucking fight.
Yeah.
Strapado.
Strapado.
I'm going to talk about that. Strapado.
Strapado.
Basically, you've heard about it in like the Hanoi Hilton and stuff like that. They still use it in certain countries.
Yep.
But basically what it is you tie, like people get their hands bound and then hung from the roof in various ways. The most common one, I think, what I remember is they would put your arms behind your back like you were getting handcuffed like by the cops. And then they'd, raise your arms up. So they're like, ripping out of the socket behind you.
Man.
So it's torture through extreme pain and dislocation. And there are some people that like they wouldn't come out of their sockets, right? So they'd add weights to their feet and just let them hang. Oh, it sounds fucking horrible, right?
Yeah.
Torture doesn't sound good regardless. But I think like it's like the rack, except it's not like you're laying down. Like this is the rack where you're hanging from the top of the ceiling
The
with
top
your
of the
arms
roof.
extended. So they would do like one hand, they would do 2 hands, they'd put your hands behind your back and then just raise it up and add weights and your shit would come apart. And then they'd leave you there for extended periods of time. Obviously you'd survive through it. Most people survived because it's not like a life-threatening thing. Unless I assume that there's some times where limbs came off after a while, depending on how long they left them. But yeah, it's a just pretty brutal torture. Like this one right there, like dude's hanging by one fucking arm just to rip his arms out. And
weights on the legs.
Yeah. Let me see. Read that. Strapado. This is from Wikipedia. Totally truthful, not fake. Not anybody has. So, the strapado, also known as corda, is a form of torture where the victim's hands are tied behind his or her back and suspended by a rope attached to the wrist, typically resulting in dislocated shoulders. Weights may be added to the body to intensify the effects and increase the pain. This kind of torture would generally not last more than an hour without rest, as it would likely result in death. So
Damn.
I guess their arms and shit would rip off.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I was wrong.
I wonder if like the blood flow from any particular part had anything to do with that.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Other names for strapado include reverse hanging and Palestinian hanging. I wonder why Palestinian is in there. Despite there being no reported evidence by Human Rights Monitor of its use by Israel against Palestinians. Ooh. Historically, it was used by medieval Inquisition and many governments, such as the Civil Law Court, 1543 to 1798. So it's pretty recent.
Good old medieval times.
Yeah.
1500s.
I like when they bring the chicken around and the beer, and you get to vote on the horses. Medieval times! So that's Strapado. That one went pretty quick. It's kind of, people hear about it, but they don't like know the name. I think it's a cool, a cool torture. Just getting fucking hung from the roof.
It's
just hanging out.
Pretty cool torture.
Just hanging out. No big deal.
This one's called the breaking wheel. Breaking wheel or execution wheel, because sometimes it led to that. Or simply known as the wheel. It's a torture method used for public execution primarily. Basically, they would take this huge wheel like off of a wagon or a cart. It's what it looked like anyways. And they'd take the individual that committed a crime, and they would take this wheel and just smash parts of their body to break it. So it's either their foot
just
or
to break
feet
the wheel
first. No, to break their limbs.
Oh,
so
just pick them up by leg and beat them over.
So wheels back then were made of like solid wood and brass
Yeah.
and all kinds of metal and shit. So they take this wheel and it's as damn near as big as a person, maybe as big as the table we're sitting at, which is like 5 foot by 5 foot or so. Anyways,
exactly
they take the wheel
4 foot
and they'd smash it like on the dude's ankle or person's ankle.
Oh, so they'd pick it, he'd be laying down or whatever.
Yes,
and just
they'd be laying out, tied down, and they'd just bam, smash it, break something, and they'd they would work around the body and just smash with this big wheel. So after the smashing is done, and the person is still alive, they take these broken limbs and they intertwine them throughout the spokes of the wheel.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so they're basically tied to this wheel with their own limbs,
just looking like a marionette. Just
just fucking intertwined, and then they have a pole sitting out about 15 feet in the air. So more people will come and help lift this wheel that you are attached to and set it up on the top of this pole. So if you manage to get yourself free and wiggle out and fall down 15 feet,
you can't break your fall,
and you hit the ground and survive, they let you free.
Damn, dude.
So if you were up there and you can't move, you can't, obviously your limbs are broken, you can't get out of there at all, the crows, the vultures, the creatures would come out and just start to eat you.
Slow death.
Some people just died from all the hemorrhaging and stuff from the broken limbs, but I'm sure that's how the majority of them ended.
And then there's probably permanent damage to that person.
Absolutely. And
were there any notes of anybody surviving?
Absolutely, yeah. So if they survived, there were several people that were like, this was specifically used for thieves, bandits. This is how they would torture them and kill them. So a lot of bandits, actually, not a lot, bandits would survive this, and then they would be treated. So after this happened and you survived it and you fell down and you're still alive, after a few hours they would treat you. They had like a manual on how to treat broken limbs and how to treat these patients or people, basically bring them back to some capable form of living to where they're not fucking broken. So here's a really fun. So it was done in France and the Roman Empire is where it was most prevalent. This one's pretty funny. Not this is so funny. This is actually crazy. In 1581, a serial killer named Peter Neers was found guilty of 544 murders and was given 42 strikes with the wheel.
Oh, you shouldn't have killed people.
Hung up, and this guy survived.
Damn.
So he fell, survived, but instead of letting the guy go, they quartered him alive. So after he fell, they tied him to 4 horses and dragged him in all different directions.
It's fucked up. They didn't uphold their promise.
They didn't.
Maybe he killed a lot of people.
544. That's a lot. They said like 32 of those were fetuses ripped from wombs, which is now what we call abortion.
Motherfucking torture. What else, man? Anything on that?
No, man, that's
cool.
Makes me sick.
I'm gonna vomit. I can talk about anything as the last one. I think the brazen bowl is interesting. Just regular hanging, like half hanging or whatever, which is kind of what they called my last one, the Serpato. But this was like the most uncreative, kind of creative, but like just pretty abrupt. Like, oh, he's fucking a shitbird or whatever, and like they basically take a cage. This is called the rat's torture device, and they had many means of doing this. You may have known about it or not. Like, I didn't really think about it. Like, I don't think about torture devices or anything on a general day-to-day basis. I've seen rats before. I'm not like freaked out by them, but like
scared to death of them.
You see the ones in New York City or something like that. They're fucking huge, and just people in general have a natural. Like,
it looks like a chihuahua.
I wouldn't say they're afraid of rats, but they're like, it's an aversion. It's kind of like spiders or whatever. Not spiders are worse, but like as far as like people getting freaked out by them because those things can fucking bite you, hurt you, kill you, whatever. Rats don't do shit. Like they come up, but in New York City, there's documented cases of them swimming through the fucking tunnels or through the toilets and shit, and end up in your fucking toilet or whatever. But the way the rat's torture device worked is many ways. It's like basically they take somebody, strap them down to the ground. It's usually a prisoner. They use this like on like the dungeons. Usually those prisoners, and they'd take a cage with an open bottom, and they'd strap the person down and then place it over their abdomen, the softest part of their torso. And so the way it works is they would rattle the cage, and the person on the bottom couldn't do anything about it. So they'd rattle the cage or like put hot shit by it, like fire or like a poker, and poke the rats and shit like that. And the rats freaking out because they're all stressed out because they're like, you know, like, what the fuck's happening? Oh God, I'm a rat. And then they try to fucking get out of the cage, and the only way is through the bottom, through the person. So what I think is fucked up about this is that they listed it on this one website. I can't remember which one, but I read it. It's like the worst torture creation ever. And it's like,
who thought of that, dude?
Those, like, the fucking wheel and shit is horrible, but it's like very like rough and, you know, just smash the fuck out of them, or like, you know, the rack is created, but like the rats, they'll burrow through you and you're not going to die. Like,
nope.
People didn't die before because you don't really have any vital, or like your intestines and shit.
They're just in the void.
Yeah. They will dig through your stomach, and then they'll fucking, if they don't clip an artery or something like that, or like through your spine, because they're going straight down, like they're just going to keep going and burrow out. So they'll go anyway. They'll go into your rib cage.
Anywhere, the path of least resistance.
Like they'd fucking get their heart clipped or whatever, like bitten, and the rats would just burrow through them like a tunnel, like they're in an ant farm or something like that. But a lot of times what happened was the rats would go straight down and out the side or through the back or something like that and get the fuck out of there. Yeah. And so they've got these people with gigantic fucking rat holes. And so they would sit there for a fucking week with an infection growing, and then they would die that way. It's like the slowest, most fucking torturous death, because you're going to get that infection in your bloodstream, and it goes everywhere and just fucking eats you from the inside out. Those are fucking horrible, dude. That's like, I wasn't freaked out by rats like before, but I was like, that's fucking creepy. I don't have a fear like that's going to happen anytime soon to me. No. Imagine that and be like, how the fuck did Mark die?
Rats torture.
Rats torture. No big fucking deal. No big fucking deal. This picture's fucked up. Like, I like when they use the old mannequins or whatever. Their fucking facial hair's all ratty and shit. It's just
it just looks like pubes on their face,
like glued on. So from, what is this website? Allthatisinteresting.com. One of the first documented uses of this diabolical technique occurred in 17th century Europe during the Dutch Revolt. The Dutch leader Diederik Sonnet famously using the technique against captured prisoners, but the technique was also used in the late 20th century. Chilean dictator, that's fucking recent. Chilean dictator Augusto Pinochet allegedly employed rat torture against political opponents during his rule. This technique was far from the only way that the rats were used as instruments of torture. Around the same time of Pinochet's reign of terror in Chile, the military junta in control of Argentina devised a devilish innovation of the process. Instead of placing the rats against the flesh, the Argentines, how do you say that? Argentines used a telescopic tube to guide the rats inside the prisoner's body through the rectum or vagina. So that's where that shit came from. I mean, that's a solid Friday.
Jeez.
Yeah, so they call it a fucking flamer. That's where the term flamer came from. You get a gerbil in your ass. And so they burrow their way out. Like, man, you know, it's fucking horrible.
That's terrible.
Poor rats. Poor fucking rats. They
use that in
a dirty butthole.
Was that Too Fast, Too Furious? They did the rats torture.
Did they?
Yeah. Make the cop give him the window to commit some crimes and stuff.
So Vin Diesel uses it.
No.
No. I don't know. That's not true.
Paul Walker was there.
Paul Walker.
Paul Walker watched it happen. That poor son of a bitch died.
That's why he smashed his fucking car into the...
Damn it, Paul!
Rest in pieces. At least you didn't get the rats torture.
Yeah, very true.
You got the rap torture where you wrapped your fucking... It's horrible, dude. This part's I don't like that
People
part.
are crying listening to this now.
I love Too Fast, Too Furious. Cool. So those were the torture devices. We don't gotta make this fucking hours long. No. We're just fucking wing it. Took 5 hours to set this bitch up on location, Mark's house. So what kind? Let's each create a fucking torture device.
Create a torture
device. You just
device.
come up with it, and it's probably gonna suck. I wouldn't want to.
Probably. Dude, that's hard.
It's hard to create.
It's hard to create.
You're not a twisted individual. But I got one ready. I didn't think about it. I just. I'm trying. You go first. No, you go.
I got one ready. Psych. I really don't have one in mind. I gotta scheme something up.
So they kind of got. There's that one that they do still. It's for they fucking elevate. they elevate their feet up and put a board over their fucking knees so they walk like ostriches, basically, like big birds.
Oh.
And they just raise the feet up. That one's fucking horrible. I don't want to copy that. What would I do? You got the people that do the fucking fish hooks and hang from the roof.
But they enjoy it. It's weird.
You know, I don't know. This might be... To come up with something is fucking weird.
It would take time.
Yeah, you'd have to think about it. We could do another episode on torture devices.
We could.
We can make this a current, just an ongoing series.
Yeah,
You know?
we've already listed some off. We can cross those ones off and move on to the next ones.
But yeah, I want to talk about that one. I thought about it. It's so fucking. Everybody's heard about it, but it's the most fucking cringeworthy thing if you've ever seen it. It's where they've fucking take these wedges and little tiny triangles, and they put them under your fucking fingernails, and then your hand is stuck. So they just take a fucking hammer and
Just knock them in.
fucking knock them in underneath your fingernails and your toes. And then whatever was left of it, they just use a plier and rip your fucking fingernails off. Have you ever seen removed fingernails or
it's terrible.
toes? It's the fucking worst thing ever. It makes you want to vomit. Worse than rat torture and any of the other ones. It's like, fuck. Because you can imagine that is the most likely one to ever happen to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fuck.
There was one, oh man, one that I saw I was gonna bring up. I'm gonna bring it up anyways.
Dude.
The Pair of Anguish. Did you see that one?
I saw.
I couldn't find anything detailed on like people actually using it, but they have a few of them, I guess. They're like, hey, we found these.
Yeah.
But
you don't have one of those?
What they think is, they took it's basically shaped like a pear, and it's got on one end it's got the pear shape, and on the other end it has this like either key shaped or just twisty knob. So when you twist the knob or the key, it would open up the pear into like a flower bloom like type thing, right? And what they would do, this is what they think happened.
Scientists.
Is they would insert this into the mouth of an individual and open it up so they couldn't close their mouth.
So it's the opposite of that bridle. What is that?
Yeah. So
what's that one? What is
the Scold's bridle?
Yeah, it's
so
like the opposite.
It's similar actually, because part of the Scold's bridle you could either push down or push up on the tongue.
Oh, okay.
So with the Pair of Anguish, you could open the entire mouth, gaping until they couldn't move anything in their mouth, and they're just like their saliva and everything is just falling out. They can't talk because it was excruciating pain. Their jaw's just basically gonna unhinge the more you twist. So
it's a nice little. What is today? Friday.
It is, and maybe a
Scold's bridle from Walmart. 2 for $1, rolling back prices for 99 cents.
Not the fetish.
I don't think they're at Walmart. This is yeah. Anyway, it's been a fun episode. It's not our longest, but it's still fun. I think it's. I don't know if there's much more we can take of that.
No, not really. I'm gonna go throw up.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.